Good day, everyone. This is Patrick from EasyFX Core Trading System, and this is Saturday, the 23rd of October, 2021. And this is the weekly technical analysis for the Euro, the cable, and the Aussie dollar for the fourth week of October. And let's begin with the Euro, where it has still has not broken out. It's still consolidating in a fairly tight range. It did start off the week bouncing off the last week's weekly pivot, and from the 138 pip extension of this reversal move here, and climb up to test the swing low that we highlighted last week, that it would come back up to retest this level at the swing low 100 pip area, and could not break above that. And Thursday it pulled back lower and managed to recover somewhat on the Friday. So fairly tight range for last week within this 116 as support, and didn't quite come close after the push up to test the swing low at the 116.64. So very small range over the last last 4 days will be just only 56, less than 60 pips. So could be waiting for this week's ECB meeting on Thursday with the rate and policy decisions. So could be waiting to trigger off that. The key resistance is still at the monthly pivot above that at the 116.83. Last week's weekly pivot was at 115.83. So for now, this swing low is still an interim resistance. Support is going to be at the 116 to the just below that from last week's weekly pivot, which is also just above the 138 pip extension. So that's at the 115.70. So there's about a 100 pip range that it could be consolidating until the ECB meeting on Thursday, and it's difficult to see that it's going to break out higher. It could still try to do that, but we would need to drive through the monthly pivot and perhaps test the 117, right where the daily 55 EMA is coming, sloping back down towards. But it may be difficult to break out that high. And below that, you still have the 138 pip extension. So that could be the likely range for next week. And on Thursday, there's also on Friday, following the ECB meeting, there's also some minor news there. So let's see how the US dollar performed for last week. Let's take a look at the US dollar index here, DXY, and on Monday it fell through the swing low support. At the 93.71, and just stayed just below that for the following 3 days. could not climb back up above that swing high level here, but it did not fall further as well. So it is attempting to find some support and could be attempting to break out higher again for next week. And it's still above the daily 55 EMA. Could have been yeah, stayed above this swing high area here. So for now, this is very not a very strong resistance level, I would say. It's too close to the price where it could easily break through. Let's also move this down here to the daily 55 as the possible support level. All right, so let's see whether the support will hold and the US dollar is able to recover for next week and attempt to test the 94.00 area. All right. Let's also take a look at the weekly time frame, where after two spin tops, yes, it did try to climb back up and retest that swing low, but it's still struggling to break out higher. Okay, that's so the key event for next week is the ECB. So slightly just going to consolidate until then, and then we'll see what the news is or highlights from that could trigger either a bounce or some weakness. Let's move on to the cable, where there's no news, no key news for this week. And it did run up to test the resistance zone. That's where the 38-fib retracement is, as well as this 78.6 retracement of this swing move lower. And it's after testing it for a couple of days, it did drop on the Thursday. So this resistance zone is still valid, just above the 138.00. And on Friday, you can see the retracement moving down back towards the daily 55 EMA. So this was a breakout on the previous Friday and a pullback on the Monday to retest the breakout back to the daily 200 EMA, and then a strong move on the Wednesday, on the Tuesday, right to test the resistance zone already. And there's an interesting move on the Wednesday because of weakened expected UK CPI figures. Let's take a look on the 4-hour time frame. So after the news, the cable started to weaken and pull back and continued from the 4-hour close at 5 p.m. It's Singapore time, or 5 a.m. US Eastern. News came out at 2 a.m. US Eastern time, and it started dropping already. And after dropping further, it managed to find support and made a strong recovery and bounced back up after this hammer-like candle, and a strong move after that from 9 a.m., the start of the US trading session, right back up to test the intra-week high that was set on the Tuesday, but could not break this zone and started to drift lower, and then on Friday fell back to the 4-hour 55 EMA. So on the 4-hour, you could actually take a few trades here. That was a long move and pull back to the support levels here, intraday support levels, and then a bounce back up to test the swing high. And then on the Friday, further weakness, finding support at the 4-hour 55 EMA. Yeah, this swing low as well. Okay, so this was a very strong V-shaped reversal here on the Wednesday after the CPI figure. So the cable does that every now and then. So if you just follow the 4-hour signals, you can candlesticks, and you can also trade these moves as well. All right, I'll show something similar on the spot gold in another video. So look out for that similar move, but strong inverted V reversal instead. Okay, so for this coming week, it's coming back to test this crowded zone here at the 62 fib retracement, where the multiple EMAs are, moving averages. The 55 is here, and then the 200 as well. Then right below that is the last week's weekly pivot was just near the 50 fib retracement, just below 137.00. So this is a very crowded support zone. So first it needs to test the 62 fib retracement, and if it breaks through, it could test the 50 fib of the bigger swing before coming down to the 50 fib retracement back again. And with no news next week, so it's going to be dependent on US dollar movement as well. All right, let me just recap where the bigger This is the biggest swing move, and on the weekly time frame here. So it's coming back towards the 55th retracement. Let's also take a look at the weekly time frame. That was the previous week, a strong rally up, but now it's bumping into this confluence of fips here. That was the resistance zone. Now close the week as a doji, so this could signal a potential retracement. Could be a strong retracement, could be a reversal, we'll see. But if it does break that support at the just below 137, then this was the 55th that was highlighting at 136.62 area. And if it's really weak, then it could come all the way back to the weekly 55 EMA. So this could just as well form an evening doji star on the weekly time frame. Let's see where the weekly 55 EMA is. It's at 136.30. Let's call it 136.30 area. Which is coming back to this zone down here. All right. Anyway, we'll see how far this retracement will go. Let's move on to the Aussie dollar, where it, after very strong bullish moves for the past few weeks, let's take a look at the weekly time frame. Since the double doji, almost doji here from just around the 72.50 area, it has climbed up all the way through to 0.75, punch through that, and then a long wick pullback from there. Went up, set a high of 0.7546. I think that's possibly a potential resistance has been hit. And a bearish close, bearish engulfing close on the Thursday, followed by a doji yesterday on Friday. So it's starting to signal retracement. So it did break out higher through the daily 200 EMA, through this 0.74 round figure here. So let's mark this now as support. Let's move this up here. 0.75 will be resistance zone. And we could also check to see where the retracement could move to. It has already settled at the 21 Fib retracement, and there's confluence with the 0.7400 area with the 38 Fib retracement. And then if it does retrace back to the 50 Fib retracement level at 0.7358, that's where the daily 55 EMA is settled there as well. Okay, let's see. how far this resistance, this retracement goes. That's a potential move back down to this 55th area. Let's this here. Okay, so unless there's some further news that could trigger a continuation move back up higher, then that could break through this swing high and target the 0.7600. If there's strong support from the daily 200 EMA. But otherwise, if it breaks through to the 38th fib, we'll see whether there's further weakness to reach the 50 fib retracement area. There's CPI figures and PPI and retail sales next week. So let's see whether it's enough to drive it higher. But it started its move on the Tuesday. That triggered from the hawkish RBA minutes, where it highlighted that there could be a recovery soon with the lockdowns all being lifted in Australia. So that was the bullish trigger. But it's time for some retracement now after an extended move for last few weeks since the beginning of the month. Monthly pivot is still way down here, just below 0.7300. So it's likely time for some retracement here. All right. So do check out my other videos on spot gold and dollar yen, and have a safe week and a good trading week as well. And cheers for now.